In this video will be books by just two artists, but I am sure that it still will be interesting because both of them are extremely talented. I want to start from the Mysterious Library. It's also one of my oldest books and I'm very happy that I managed to purchase it. I don't know if this book by Eunji is still available, but I can recommend it to everyone. It has interesting artist style. Someone thinks that it's maybe too simplified, but I always enjoyed her works. And quality of the book is also quite good. At least I managed to use here even my capricious pencils like Derwent Color Softs. Actually, when I started to color it, I had soft pastel, color softs, Kohinoor Mondeluz, and I pretty well managed to do some nice pictures with like this quite detailed library spread. And another one, here I used even budget children's set of Faber-Castell Faber-Castell Eco cheap children's pencils together with color softs, and still I think that it looks quite colorful and nice. I absolutely love this idea of the girl which starts her journey through the libraries, through the most famous fairy tales. Some of the pictures maybe it's better to color with paint, at least this one. And you know what, when I colored it 5 years ago, I didn't find this spread interesting, but now I look at it and I think that it's quite nice. But maybe it's because now I have felt tip pens which I can use for the flowers to make them more bright. So I definitely have to think which media I can use to make this book more interesting and colorful. This spread I started to do when I purchased those pastel shades of watercolors. Then I realized that I don't like color which I mixed for the pine trees which I wanted to make made from chocolate because it's country of sweets, and I stopped to do it, but I'm sure that I will manage to save it and by changing color for the trees, and then I can continue to work on the spread. And that's another one where I started to use watercolors, but well, I wasn't quite experienced in doing nice gradients with watercolors at the moment, and I think that it would be better to cover this whole area with gouache paints. It would look much more accurate than what I have now, and then I can do the rest. Definitely many backgrounds here, they would look better with gouache background. At least that's what I can imagine. But some of the spreads I managed to color with watercolor underpaint, like I did here on all the trees, and I also added those wisteria like flowers falling down into the water. And even water here I did with watercolor paints. Only for the birds and for the girl I used pencils and of course a lot of white gouache, which helped me to do feathers on the white swan. That's another one where I used acrylic paint here and on those shiny metal dots, then watercolors for those remaining areas of the background, and pencils for the main heroes. Such a nice winter picture. Maybe I can do it in February. I have to put it somewhere into my plans, and I love this Alice spread. Here I almost everything colored with Derwent Color Softs. As I said, they work quite well on this paper, surprisingly well. I always considered them pencils which work better on toothy paper, but here paper is smooth, but you still can blend them nicely and to do even those gradients from almost invisible until the darker shades. So I was very happy when I did both pictures with color softs. Maybe just a little bit. I think that on her skin I added a little bit of Prismacolors. The rest I made with color softs. And this one again, watercolors, when I practiced how to do autumn leaves. First I wanted to do a wet on a wet coloring, but it bleeded through, but on the dry paper everything worked quite well. And then I finished it with a little bit of soft pastel for the background, and surprisingly soft pastel, such an easy material, but I messed up this area. Maybe I wanted to do it first with pencils, then I switched to soft pastel. I don't remember, but this corner looks messy. But I do love the girl. She looks dreaming, well, a rested person, and she has very pleasant dreams because of her interesting book. Nice book, and I somehow need to return to it. And after this one, we will go to my Kerby Rosanes books. For now, I own 4 books, and we will start from Imagimorphia. For a long time it was my one and only book by Rosanes, and I was quite happy with one because I wasn't a big fan of doodles. Some of the pictures were quite okay to color, like this horse, Prismacolor pencils and acrylic paint, quite easy. Some of them I never planned to color because of those doodles. This one I did with various pencils, with Inktense, with Faber-Castell Eco, with color softs. What I owned when I just started my journey, I put everything into this page. I didn't have prismas or polychromoses, but I still managed to do several nice pictures. This one I colored when I purchased Derwent drawings. I considered them perfect for architectural elements. And here we have very interesting Asian style palace. Reminded me about Cambodia a little bit. And I also decided that this area on the left background is a little bit empty. So I added a couple of Giza pyramids. For the camel, I did a lot of watercolor underpaint, even fur on the neck, on the legs, and I think that only somewhere on the head I added a touch of pencils, but mostly the whole skin and fur on the camel. It was made with watercolors. And I think that here we have soft pastel, easy and quick. I always wanted to do this dinosaur, and I don't know why I hadn't done it, because that's definitely one of the best spreads in Rosanes books, at least for me. Next I have this magical crane, probably, I forgot proper name of the bird, but I was so proud of myself when I did areas of white feathers with a little bit of grey and bluish shading. I already owned Prismacolor pencils, and with their cold grey, French grey colors I managed to do pretty good work on all areas of feathers, and of course it was good practice for gold. That's the whole spread which I made with Derwent drawings. It was challenging because you know that they have limited color palette, but still I think that I did quite good work, so you can find the most interesting elements of the messy crowded backgrounds on the both sides. And palace also looks quite three-dimensional, not very flat. Then I finished it with simple soft pastel background. I have unfinished pictures here where I totally lost my patience. On the repeated elements, here it was interesting for me to do penguins and water, and I even managed to do one part of the doodles with Inktense and color softs. And then when I was thinking that I still need to do the same elements on the left, I abandoned this idea. Here I practiced how to do stormy sky, stormy clouds, and those ghost ship. But I wasn't happy. I don't remember what I used, watercolors or Inktense pencils, so it looked blotchy, not very good, not as opaque as I wanted to. So I wasn't happy by some areas and I got distracted, so it's still unfinished. And finally I have my beautiful panda, where I realized that actually backgrounds could be easily done with gouache paints, and I even managed to do quite nice gradient. It's always problematic for me to do gouache gradients, starting from pink and going into lavender blue. Those mountains I also added by myself, again with gouache paints, and it's very easy to color all animals in Rosanes books because his shading is very helpful. You just add a little bit of cream, gray on the fur and you have pretty nice three-dimensional panda head. I remember that here I used almost all color palette, trying to divide them into colorful groups, trying to find parts of the dragon's body similar Asian style pagoda buildings, then other animals and green elements. So again, it was like unraveling some puzzle, but I really love the final look of it. As I said, for a long time I was quite happy just to watch how other people color Mythomorphia, other books by Kerby, but then he started to publish even more amazing books. And now I also have Fragile Vault. I was lucky that in my Fragile Vault I can use watercolor with moderate amount of water, and I don't have bleeding through problems. Sometimes I have a little bit of dots, but I can mask them for something on the landscape around animals. I started to color here from these beautiful birds. I really was quite interested in their story. They have unusual look, and I did a very quick watercolor sky background. I decided that blue sky and blue water wouldn't be very interesting, so I added this very light great lavender color. And then everything else I colored with polychromoses. Polychromoses are my favorite art supplies for all books by Rosanes. And now in Vault Within Vaults, in Mythic Vault, everywhere, I mostly color with polychromoses. Only when I need some unique color, I can use also Prismacolors, or for bigger areas where they are quicker to use. In this book I have several spreads where I am quite proud of my work, sometimes because of the amount of time and efforts which I put into the spread, like this spread with dolphins. Here we have a lot of pictures with water, and I try to color it at least slightly different one from another. Here everywhere I added those light aqua and yellow-green highlights matching lower part of the sky. Again, because it won't be very colorful if we just do gray and black dolphins and blue water, so I had to think about some additional colors. Something went not right with the top corner. I don't know why, but my ultramarine polychromos pencil didn't want to lay on that paper. Maybe something damaged when book was printed, I don't know, but still it doesn't bother me at all. And that's another spread of which I am extremely proud of. I already told this story that I did it after I watched a documentary about these amazing creatures and about their evolution, how part of them who occupy land where they have plenty of green things to eat, they can't swim, and those poor creatures who occupy those empty stones surrounded by water, they had to learn how to swim, because beneath the surface of the water they have plenty of food because of all those seaweeds, and now they can breathe beneath water and on top of the water, but they also have to spend considerable amount of time on the stones trying to get some energy, some warmth from the sun. And that's exactly what I tried to show on this page. I really wanted to add sun somewhere here and a lot of those orange highlights, reflections, which represent this moment when they try to catch remaining rays of sunlight, and those creatures which are diving for the food. I decided that for the body of iguana I can experiment a little bit with blending green with terracotta. At some of the moments I wasn't sure that it would work, but now I think that it's okay. It helped me to make this smooth transition from the body of iguana into those row of stones. Well, it was interesting, and it's a mix of Prismacolors, which I mostly used on the sky, and polychromoses, which I used for the rest of the page. On this one, I mostly practiced coloring water with watercolor paints. I tried to make more visible this swirl of fishes and water around the shark. And then I tried to recreate this very interesting pattern on her skin, like tiny pearls, tiny white dots. Well, slightly boring, but when you color with watercolors, it's much quicker to do all those fishes, comparing to the time which you need if you color just with pencils. That's why I really appreciate that paper allows me to apply a little bit of watercolor. Next one, I have this beautiful eagle. Sorry, maybe that's not eagle. Anyway, here I try to show both the beauty of the bird and also beauty of the surrounding landscape. That's why I also decided to add waterfalls and interesting, beautiful pink lavender clouds. Maybe it's time for the sunrise. So I think that it worked quite well. I tried to study reference pictures and what shades of brown they have on the various parts of their bodies, for the shorter feathers, for the longer feathers, on the tail, on the wings. So it was quite interesting. Next I have this very colorful spread where I did both backgrounds with watercolors, and then I started to work with pencils. Again, it's a crazy mix of Prismacolors and polychromoses, but polychromoses are in bigger amount. I think that my favorite part here is how fluffy looks this queen and bee. Quite nice. Then I have another spread. Somehow I don't try to color spreads because they are not matching animals. It just happened somehow. I did penguins first, and again I was slightly confused how to make this page beautiful, because penguins, they are black and white. All stones, they are also quite in limited color palette and with muted colors, so only their feathers near eyes and beaks could be bright areas. But then I decided to add a little bit of grayed green to the stones, a little bit of brown colors, so in the end I think that it worked. I again did very light underpaint with watercolor paints on the stones, on the sky, and then with pencils like drawing for the stones and polychromoses for the penguins, I did the rest of the page. This one I did because I wanted to try somewhere my new watercolor set by Rosa. Color is black green. I think that here it worked particularly well. Also with watercolors I did leaves, and that's where I got a little bit of dots, but I don't care. Maybe it's some ornament on the leaves, maybe it's drops of water. And from the very beginning I wanted those frogs to be as bright as they are in real life, and I especially love their tender orange fingers, so adorable. And I decided that cream and very light peachy pink could be nice selection for the flowers around. Well, amazing book, and I can recommend it to everyone who loves to color animals. For me, it's the best book for now, with a variety of spices which we can find here and quality of the paper. You know that I love Australian animals, but to work on this paper it's much easier. Next, of course, I have a vault within a vault. Well, I was thinking for a long time, do I need it, or just like with mythographic, I saw already so many finished pictures that I won't be able to do something with my own color palette. But then I decided that no, I want to color it, and now slowly but I try to fill it in when I can imagine something really creative for these beautiful pictures. So I have this underwater vault where I again used a lot of polychromos pencils, but on the columns I also helped myself with clay rose and great lavender. Well, I'm still not sure that if I was right when I used such emerald green, but I wanted to try something new apart from my traditional olive green colors, Prussian greens, so I decided to try this color combo with bigger amount of cobalt turquoise, and I think that for the underwater area it can work. Here I tried to add a little bit of story to the page. First I decided that I can do leaves in non-traditional blue and violet colors. I found some elements which reminded me flowers, and I decided to color them in yellow and red. And another feature which I added is this transition from the part of the village beneath the sun, and another part of the village is highlighted by moon. Well, maybe it's not very clear, but at least I tried to show it on the reflections on the roofs, on the sky area around the sun and moon. And in the end, I did antelope, and I added a little bit of white paint to emphasize those areas on her face. Next one I absolutely love, and it was hard work. I was quite nervous about all those background areas. Golden elements I colored quite quickly. Then I colored all those planets and strange creatures, but I wanted to make this gradient from the fire halo around the central part, maybe around sun, and to make transition to a very dark, intense blue-violet, almost black, near the compass edge. And then I also needed to do something matching on the outer part. Here I used pencil on top of the acrylic paint, and here I did everything with polychromos pencils. That was my first work, and from the subject of this page it was quite easy to select color palette. I wanted to play on contrast between cold colors inside of this lantern, where we have penguins and other Antarctic creatures. I also wanted to make something like northern lights on the background inside, and a very hot atmosphere of the desert tent, probably Arabic things which we have around. So it was fun, and again everything I did with polychromos pencils. It's a pity that I need a lot of pencils for these big pages, but I think that they give me the best result. Here I love everything apart from the area of sand. I put a lot of efforts into crab, because I saw a reference picture of a very interesting variety of them where they have very bright first, I don't know, arms things, and the rest of the body and the rest of the legs were in much darker and muted color. Then I did a very colorful tropical village, and I wanted to experiment with this evening sunset sky. So when I had to color only the area of the sand, I think that I already was out of breath and I just wanted to finish it. I wanted to do some kind of steps, maybe from the on the sand. But somehow my selected colors, they didn't blend very well, and shadow beneath the body looks a little bit dirty. But apart from it, I do love this one. Next I have this very interesting snake. I really love this idea how body of the snake slowly transform into train. Quite nice. So of course I tried to find colors which would be appropriate both for the train and for the scales on the snake's body. And then if I used here those like primary colors, yellow, black, orange and red, then for the background I tried to find more pastel, a lot of ochre, peach, light olive green colors, so totally different color palette, because I wanted snake to be focal point here. And another thing which I did, almost white, very light cream area around her head, and much more intense background near the sides. Well, next we have those two parts of one spread. At least for me, that's one part of the page where we have beginning of the dragon's body and this magical globe, and here we have matching part with the head of the same dragon, many similar elements. So this tree, roots, background, sky, space background, I did in the same color palette. It's good that I can rewatch my own videos and I can use the same pencils, even if I colored this one a couple of months later after the first one. The most challenging area, of course, was this globe, but Prismacolor pencils helped me to create this impression of the swirl of magical elements and glassy surface inside of the ball. I enjoy coloring metal elements, so for me it was really nice and fun to color this rusty steel or this very shiny gold. I enjoyed it a lot. And I also have this crazy pterodactyl spreads where I did totally fantasy colors for the leaves, golden ginkgo tree leaves, and then their space wings. Very nice. Here the whole background I did with dahlia purple and dark purple colors from Prismacolor set. After this spread I probably had to purchase the new pencils, but I think that it was worth because it really added depth to the background color. Yeah, so just this one. Here I'm quite proud of this hieroglyph background where I wanted to add some cracks on the old stone. Here maybe I wasn't very successful, but this crack looks much better. And of course this page, it was difficult to color in balanced way. So I tried to use similar colors for the city here and here. Similar colors for the body of the dragon and armor of the unicorn. So I think that in the end it looks quite nice. I know that my next project in this book, it will be this huge spread with dinosaur. I just need to find time. And finally, my favorite book for now is obviously Missing of all. That's the book which makes me extremely happy. That's the book where everything for my taste, amount of details, quality of the paper, and that I can learn something new with each new page. Well, of course I color here very slowly because of the amount of details and because of the fact that I mostly use Prismacolors again. Only here on the background of this terrible Greek giants I used acrylic paint to make nice and very opaque black background. Well, I never expected to desire to color this page to be inspired, but then I thought that I can actually try this new skin color from a light ultramarine to violet, and that it would create interesting contrast to all this armor and their swords, their other things. Also, I try to show that they are creatures which can create storms, and that's why I surrounded their armor with a little bit of white. Maybe it's like thunder. Anyway, it wasn't a very inspiring page, but in the end, after long hours of working on their faces, I think that I made something acceptable, so I'm happy that by chance I turned even not very inspiring page into something interesting. This Japanese demon was much more fun to color, and here again I wanted to try new skin tone. When I read the story about Japanese Oni demons, I learned that they can be with blue or with red skin, and I decided that this time red will be my choice. I combined various polychromos pencils, and of course for when I saw his antlers, and when I saw this traditional Japanese style design with flowers, with chrysanthemum, with cranes, I tried to find colors which would look nice in contrast with the skin. So a lot of cobalt, turquoise colors and a little bit of lavender and purple also. So I think that in the end everything worked quite well. I wasn't sure what to do with the skull, then I decided that it can match pattern on the antlers, and I think that everything worked quite well, especially when I did those very bright golden eyes. They immediately attract attention. Here I have a very traditional Egyptian color palette. When you color any of the Egyptian goddesses, you need to use a lot of golden elements. You need to use colors for the cobalt, for the sapphires and other gemstones. So basically it's cobalt green, blue, and then various shades of red. Of course I tried also to make sure that this central part with carved hieroglyphs would be nicely visible. The most boring part was to do all those long feathers in one color but with small pattern here. I decided here to use for the pattern my felty pens, and actually they were quite helpful when I needed to outline those elements of the headpiece. I think that it was easy to color but long to finish. Here I have my spread with Kubera, god of wellness, and you can see that not only he is surrounded but many gemstones, golden things, coins, pearls, but he also has golden skin. I deliberately wanted to use a lot of yellow here, not the color which I use a lot apart from golden elements, but here I even his clothes made with slightly different hue of yellow, and in the end I added those very dark colors for the mountains to create good contrast. I wanted slightly dreamy landscape, so I surrounded all clouds with a white acrylic paint, and I think that it add some atmosphere to this page. Well, here I have my daemon of nature, daemon from Thailand, and we have also this very famous temple of Emerald Buddha. Both of them are very highly decorated. Clothes of the daemon and roof of the temple. First I did all the elements on the clothes. I think that they also can be with various skin tones. I selected blue because I saw very nice reference pictures of the huge statue in Bangkok, so I copied all my colors there. The most challenging part for me was to finish sky. Here I surprisingly used one of Derwent Colorsoft pencils, and this cobalt turquoise, dark cobalt turquoise, helped me to finish it nicely, and I think that it also turned exactly like I imagined it in my head. Here I'm working currently on this one, and in this book I want to color everything, so sometimes I wish that I have only one book and set of Prismacolor's polychromases, so I can sit and I can finish this book. It still probably require for me a year to finish this one, but that's the book which I enjoy immensely. I'm not sure about his new book about aliens. I love his talent, and I know that he can create beautiful pictures for each and every theme, but sometimes when you get new book, you invest your time into the new book, and sometimes you abandon your old lovely books. So I don't want to be distracted from Mythic World. Well, I hope that when I do a new review, maybe in several months, I will show you Mythic World full of new legends, new heroes, full of new colorful pictures. Thank you, and until the next videos.